I've always been an absent Genshin player, and I don't know why. I suddenly thought that I should log back into the game after 3 years of inactivity, and needless to say, it made me realize that I had missed playing it. You see, there are players that are purely invested in the gambling side of things, pumping money to get the best pulls. Other players simply play for the story and the gameplay, wanting to know more about the region of Teyvat and its inhabitants. But there's also players like me, wanting to relish in the atmosphere and the beautiful scenery, enjoying that aspect of the game while still progressing. I've enjoyed the gameplay and the quests quite a bit, despite only being Adventurer rank 26 and not even done with the Archon quests. But doing all the miscellaneous side quests and mainline quests throughout the entire region had me exploring almost all parts of the map. I even remember traveling miles just to activate the many statues of the 7, minus the one where I have to travel by boat. I'm not at that point yet. I guess you could say that I'm still sort of a new player, but at the same time I started all the way back in mid-2021, playing out of curiosity and not having much expectations, given what I had heard about Genshin at that time. What I didn't realize though, is that it would leave behind memories that I can still remember clear as day, recalling all the story events and the absolute gorgeous views I saw along the way. And to be clear, I started at that time, then stopped playing around August that year, then came back to it again in October 2022, then for some reason I quit playing it for over 2.5 years. Now that I've returned to it, I feel like coming back full force and sinking in a lot of time. It truly is a magnificent game in its own right. I always love the music, the vibrant character and the people you encounter and play as, and of course, the scenery I've mentioned earlier. But upon logging back in, I had totally forgotten that the Lantern Rite festival is going on. But I think I got in as soon as it started, and that place during the festival looks great. But I'll get to that later on. As the title suggests, I want to show you all some of my favorite spots in Genshin, ones that I personally enjoy looking at, as well as attaching it with some personal memories of mine. Bear in mind, I still haven't unlocked most of the map, as again, I haven't got a boat, so I'll go off what I experienced so far. Get yourselves comfy, as we're gonna take a break from all the hard work and appreciate one of the many aspects of Genshin. I'm sure there's tons of other towns and landscapes to choose from as a first, but I'm most definitely sure that the city of Mondstadt holds a special place to many players, both new and old. It's your starting area, your first step to becoming a determined and resilient traveler, your first destination. Not to mention, you meet the earliest, most iconic characters, Amber, Lisa, Captain Kea, Diluc, acting Grandmaster Jean, and her younger sister, Barbara. You even meet Mona and Eula later down the line. It truly is the first stepping stone to a much bigger adventure. This is the place where Amber helps you get your wing glider, where you get your first team, the first city you protect. There's so much about Mondstadt that, well, makes it your first everything. As for the place itself, it's a peaceful city, but one that's held near and dear to myself and many other players alike. When recording footage of my quick tour around the place, I ended up spending at least half an hour in there, from dawn till dusk. The Market District features the Adventurers Guild, the Cat's Tail Tavern, the Good Hunter Restaurant, as well as the Blacksmith. But further up the city, up the stairs, you can see the Knights of Favonius headquarters. The library is where Lisa mainly resides, with tens of books at your disposal. Then there's Grandmaster Jean's office, which is, well, an office. As for the other areas, they're not really accessible, but the locked room on the ground floor is a solitary confinement that's only exclusive to Klee. The headquarters is a fascinating place, and the 2 accessible rooms show a lot about Lisa and Jean's role in Mondstadt. If you take the stairs outside of the headquarters, then you are greeted with a large open space with the Anemo Archon statue right in the middle, surrounded by water. It's quite a sight to behold at this angle, as the cathedral stands right behind it. The Favonius Cathedral is a place of worship for the Anemo Archon, more prominently known for Barbara being the deaconess, as well as the area where you have to sneakily steal the Holy Lyre in the prologue. However, this area is inaccessible as soon as you're past it, so all that's left are the open basement stairs. There's not much to say about Mondstadt. I decided to choose this city purely because it's attached by memories of the prologue and its significance, though I can't lie that it looks stunning both at night and day. There are many great points of interest, a few commissions and side quests, but most importantly, it has this feeling that feels exactly like home. And the music, it's nostalgic for me. You know, revisiting Mondstadt these days after progressing so much more makes me feel melancholy. A sort of longing I didn't even realize I had. It feels lonely almost. Being able to walk around the city with Amber and the gang, running errands for everyone. It was simpler then, and I do miss that. I just wish there was more to do. Mondstadt is a beautiful place, ones that tied to memories, and it's almost impossible to forget. I'd go as far as to say that it's one of the many staples of Genshin. Sumeru City, or the City of Wisdom, as it's also known. It's a place built upon the Divine Tree, a large sprawled out tree that's been stood for ages. The Divine Tree holds a great deal of importance towards Sumeru City, making it an interesting place to visit and live in. It's hard not to notice in the region of Sumeru, and its foliage adds so much personality to the city. Even the entire spot has levels built on the tree for various different spaces, as we'll see soon enough. First thing you'll notice upon entering are the amount of palm trees and greenery, embracing the very nature of the earth. Walking across all the various outside markets feels like a temple almost. It's natural and exotic, but also man-made. As we branch out and move further down, we enter the Grand Bazaar, a place where local merchants sell their homemade products, but it's also where mainly normal residents choose to live a stable life. It's all enclosed by the sparse growth of the tree, giving it some life, and there's even room for the Zubar Theater. It's just a comfy little marketplace. Now, moving further up to the middle of the tree trunk, we can find the Academia, the main building of the city built upon the Divine Tree. It's the building where the Sumeru Academia come to study and research several specialties, including biology and elementalism. The House of Dyna is also the largest library in Teyvat, hundreds upon hundreds of books spanning the whole section. It's fascinating to look at, really, even seeing how tall it is. Nearby the Academia, there's the Razan Garden, along the path up the tree. There is a lake with a pretty view overlooking the region of Sumeru. You can see just how vast the world is at this angle. On the very top of the city, there's the Sanctuary of Surastana, home of the current Dendro Archon. You're able to access the interior in Chapter 3 of the Archon quest, but I'm not sure if I've gotten there yet. That's the short, brief tour of the city. I had to go back to re-record more of the tour because I had totally forgotten that there was so much more to it. I walked past at least a few crucial areas. Seriously, it's sort of easy to just get lost or stuck in the circle in this complex city, but once you get the hang of your surroundings, it really is the most interesting and astounding city because of its history, as well as how it's structured. For a settlement that's built upon, in, and around the Divine Tree, it's very lively, very natural. It really is a relaxing spot if you want something with more greenery. And as a quick little side note, if anyone has been paying attention to the lore and trivia of Genshin, then it is known that Lisa spent her time here in Sumeru City to study in the Academia, managed to graduate in 2 years, but then decided to be the librarian in Mondstadt, which is now her new home. Many still question why, despite her talents, and I can see that. The city is really suitable for her. It's just magical, the element of the earth really showing through in this city. There's an old screenshot I still have from October 2022, where I climbed to almost the very top of the Divine Tree, showing the very open view of the region of Sumeru. For this video's sake, I decided to climb to the peak of the tree and show you all the amazing view I've gotten the chance to see, as well as a long glide above the city to show its size below. Enjoy. I feel like Sumeru City is definitely up there in terms of my personal favorite spots to visit, and I can't help but think that maybe it is a little underappreciated. It was that time of the year again, the big festival that's celebrated yearly on the first full moon of the year, Lantern Rite. For the first time in almost 3 years, I logged on at the perfect time, on the first day the event started. This brought me back to visiting Liyue Harbor, one of the first places you venture to during the Archon quests. It's where the festival takes place, where you do the special event quests and various different fun activities to gain rewards. Stuff such as playing Immortal Kombat, passing the time trying to find the fortune coins or launch tubes scattered across the harbor, and, in one way, interacting with the community of players alike through gift envelopes. I made one while in the process of making this video, and here's what it looks like. I made sure to share it publicly so all the people playing around that time could see mine by chance. This was all just for fun, and I can't say that I didn't get at least some enjoyment out of it. It's an important festival in Teyvat, lasting only 5 days. Every night, the people in Liyue Harbor release lanterns into the air, watching hundreds of them fly away in the night sky, guiding the soul of Liyue's protectors. And to end the night off, it's celebrated with fireworks. It's quite a peaceful event, isn't it? It's a time where everyone comes together and celebrates. Every year, the Mingxiao lantern always changes, giving a new theme. This year, it appears to be a trio, with the theme being the 8 Adepts and the Sanctification of Tao Do. Looking at this lantern during the night along with the hundreds that are floating in the air, it's a sight to behold. It's absolutely pretty. Seriously. I can't even describe it without repeating myself. So, I chose Liyue Harbor specifically because it makes the place look a lot more festive and filled with life, feeling like you're a part of the festivities. The way they're set up for this event makes it a lot more special, but most importantly, a whole lot prettier, so traditional. More like the real-life counterparts, Chinese New Year and the Lantern Festival, the two main inspirations for Lantern Rite. I believe that's what makes the in-game event so special, the blend between real life and fiction showing through, blurring the lines there. Without taking Lantern Rite into account, Liyue Harbor is just as wonderful on its own, serving as a port city, with its design mainly inspired by ancient China. And it really shows here. It's a small city, but I feel like it's effective at what it does, given that it's a port. There's Feiyun Slope, the merchant district. It's a sort of main area where various different shops reside. This is also the place where the funeral parlor is, where everyone's beloved Hu Tao is the funeral director, which she also does performances during Lantern Rite every year. A cool feature of Feiyun Slope is that there's an upstairs section, where you can oversee the area on the bridges connecting the buildings. One thing to mention is the Heiyu Tea House, which, to connect it back to the festival, you might know that Yunjin gave her opera performance this year, one cutscene showing her rehearsing in this tea house. Side note, I also got her for free as part of the rewards, which I'm happy with what I got. And finally, it's hard to miss the Ministry of Civil Affairs, located smack dab in the middle of Feiyun Slope. Here's Chihu Rock, a lower class district that's connected to Feiyun Slope to the north. Here you can find the Wanmin restaurant, where Shanling's father, Chef Mao, runs the place. Shanling also helps out during the festival alongside her father. For a district like this, it still looks very pleasant, not at all feeling lower class. Besides, there's the dock right nearby, where all the ships come and go. It's nice looking at the open sea like this and walk on the decks, almost feeling like I can smell the salty water from here. And, to the west of Chihu Rock, there's Mount Tianheng, finding a small settlement right nearby the bridge. Finally, there's the wealthier residential district, Yujing Terrace. I'll admit, I have either never set foot in this area or I have completely forgotten about this. My live reaction says a lot in such little words, honestly. That is nice. That is... wow. It's so nice. And that's just a small garden, right nearby the pharmacy. The main section is pretty open. This is where the pavilion stands, and it feels pretty... rich. I don't have much to say about this one. And then there's the Yiyan Temple, a place dedicated to the Geo Archon, Morax. There was also the annual Rite of Dissension, but because of what happened to Rex Lapis after the prologue, it has ceased. And the guards don't seem to like us anymore. Sad. But all of that aside, it's just as open as the main area, and there's a railing that overlooks Feyun Slope. I love Liyue Harbor. It's very memorable. It's a well put together place, and it's also home to more iconic characters you meet in your adventures. Plus, it's hard to forget about this place, given that Lantern Rite happens here every year, and it's still being celebrated in-game and in real time. Really, what's not to love about this place? So, because I missed the time frame to release this video while the event was ongoing, I hope you all had a happy Lantern Rite, and that all of you players got to celebrate and do something fun for it. This only happens once every year, so you gotta make the most out of it, you know? My first impressions of Chenyu Vale were very emotionally overwhelming, to say the least. The moment I first set foot in the Vale, I was greeted with the song that I played in the intro cinematic just now, Garden of Jade. That's when it clicked with me. It played during the introductory cutscene where you meet Fujin, a golden carp adeptus. That night, I was desperately searching for the song, and I found it. It was quite a tearjerker. After exploring through more of the Vale, I noticed how the music scores were incredibly touching to the heart, having this peaceful and sort of melancholy tone to it. At least, that's how I interpret it as. It's now become one of my favorite soundtracks in the game. It perfectly captures the setting of Chenyu Vale, but there's so much more to this subregion that I found so astounding to look at. To give a short summary of what this subregion is about to my knowledge so far, it's the land known for its tea leaves, with Chaoying Village being its best producer. I'm not gonna get into the deep lore of how Chenyu came to be because it's a lot and this video would take far too long, but I do know that in the present, you're asked by Fujin to help restore the balance in the Vale, as the soil and water became tainted, contaminating the tea leaves in the process. That's just as far as I can go without spoiling. I urge you play for yourself if you haven't already. You're in for quite the story. You're also taught Adeptal Energy, using it to travel with the Golden Carp's Leap spread across the Vale, as well as interacting with the simulacrums and moving the jade hairpins to solve puzzles. But honestly, the main thing that stood out to me is just the general aesthetic of the Vale. Tons of amazing views, pretty mountains, the rivers, the water's so clear you can see right through it. My goodness. I feel like I've already shown everything in the opening intro, but I'll do my best to show my most favorite and intriguing spots while I was exploring the Vale. I'll keep this brief. As you can see right now, this is Chaoying Village, which, as stated before, are the main harvesters of the Adepti leaves. It's quite a cozy little village, with the field of crops, the clear waters, a vibrant population, and a homely feel. As we venture forth though, we find ourselves in the dangerous hilly trail territory nearby, but even that small settlement looks nice with the wooden structures and bridges. I even found a hilly trail fishing. I had to take a photo of that, of course. Then there was this peculiar spot, one with a bunch of wooden platforms and a long rope bridge. Something about it felt abandoned, almost, void of any living beings or guards. But right nearby that, we reach Mount Lingmeng, a sacred area that holds the Wangshan Hall, the stronghold of the Guhua clan. I was actually surprised when I walked by here. It's just so ancient. Definitely intriguing. I can tell this place has a lot of history. Jademouth, on the other hand, this is the area that I kept frequently coming back to. It's along the Bishui River, with giant pieces of jade surrounding it. You can really see the size of them, being able to climb those structures and look down at the river below, and it's just so mesmerizing to look at. But right at the end of Jademouth, where the waterfall is, there's the port named Yilong Wharf. It's a bigger settlement, with the lower level used for docking boats coming from along the river, but there's also an upper section that's more populated, which can be accessed by using this elevator. When I recorded this, it was nighttime, which meant that I could see tens of lanterns illuminating the whole port. Even the fish statues are lit up. I was even more lucky to catch this area during the Lantern Rite event, making this place more festive and pretty, much like the one in Liyue Harbor. This little port is nice, I like it. I like how both levels are connected to the waterfall, and it's right nearby the next region, Fontaine. You can just see the waterfall in the distance. This is right at the outskirts too. Now, moving on to the southern mountains. This is where the views get more breathtaking, especially during the day. The light blue haze adds everything. The statue of the Seven there takes you where some ruins are, which are pretty dangerous. Even I can't take these things on my own. I wanted to point out two areas of interest in particular, starting with Yaodie Valley. According to the description, this is an Adeptus' abode. This is just... wow. It's so vibrant and detailed. There isn't anything of interest to point out, but just one simple look at it speaks volumes. But it's unlike the next and final area I want to show, Mount Qianlian. Looking at the mountain at this angle, it's such a spectacular sight. You can see how this area is so open and free. The mountain towers over everything, and I especially love how there are a few cherry blossom trees on and around the mountain. It's so beautiful. You can see the wind, the river, the haze, the mist, and the mountain creates the structure where perhaps you might think one of the Archons or Adepti shaped it, given how there's a small gazebo at the top of it, with hints of jade. Fujin could have very well visited this frequently, possibly for centuries. Anyways, there's a rigid wooden path that leads to the underside of the mountain, which you can use the Golden Carp's Leap to travel upwards, using the wind as guidance. I like how there are rope bridges and platforms on the inner side of the mountain. It really makes you think if someone has traveled here before and decided to build them. At the top, there's the gazebo I mentioned earlier, with a neat little pond and cherry blossom trees around it. The view is also spectacular because you can see what's below, and in the distance, you can see bridges from the Huaguang Stone Forest in the next sub-region across from Chenyu Vale, still in Liyue. I'm impressed by how the render distance can go this far. I've always been impressed by the massive landscape that is Teyvat. It's simply so vast and diverse. That's it for Chenyu Vale. I love this sub-region. Seriously, it just feels good to be here. I can almost sense the fresh, open air. It's almost like home, all of it. I immediately fell in love with how it looks, and I'm glad that I have stumbled upon it while it was still sort of fresh. It left a great impact on me. The overall presentation got me impressed, and I always found myself going back to the songs I've heard in the Vale. Oh goodness. This might just be the longest section yet, and I dearly apologize. It's honestly one of the main reasons why I decided to make this video. There was so much to cover, and talking about the Vale just feels extremely passionate. I cherish it with all my heart. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video essay about me blabbering on about my favorite spots for almost half an hour. If you made it to the end, then I really appreciate that. It's nice to be able to write about something that I am super interested in. And while I'm not exactly perfect at doing voiceovers or videos like this in general, I still appreciate you all for taking the time to hear me out. It took me weeks to get all of this written, recorded, and edited. And part of the fun was going in-game to revisit all of the areas I talked about in this video. This was really fun, I cannot lie. If anybody was expecting the region of Inazuma to be in here, then I am so sorry. Even I am frustrated at myself that I didn't progress enough. I've heard multiple times that Inazuma is one of the best regions in the game, and this makes me want to continue playing the sea for myself. I haven't even seen a single picture of it, yet. It's not often I get to do something like this for a change. Because Genshin has captured me deeply after so long, I decided to just make something out of it to get deeper into this little virtual world that is Teyvat, and I hope that it will reach parts of the community. This channel is small, and I doubt I'll get much attention or commenters on this video, but for anyone that does want to participate and reach the end of the video, then I have something fun to ask, to get everyone together and share their thoughts. What are your personal favorite spots in Genshin, and why? What does it make you feel? What do you imagine when you picture yourself being there? And what memories do you have attached with it? And before I sign off, I'd also like to add that if anyone wants to correct any info or give general feedback about the video, please let me know as well. I've loosely wrote summaries and facts based on what I've read in wiki articles as a refresher, as well as some recollections, both vague and clear. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a nice day.